I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, Dr. Joe, your show is, it's heard coast to coast and around the world, and it's so popular. And why do you think that is? Why do you think your show is so well received by everyone across the board? And I said, well, I think what's happening is people feel like their lives are not their own anymore. The government is getting control of everything, but you have control of one thing. You have control of your own health. The problem is you might not know what to do about it. You might not know how to take control of your own health. So we're going to talk about why alternative health care is booming. And I always have to laugh when it's called alternative health care, complementary health care. I feel it should be primary health care because it has a place as a primary health care, chiropractic, acupuncture, homeopathy, supplements, nutrition, and it's getting there, which is kind of cool. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about cars. And she was saying she's wanting to get a new car. And I said, it's funny that 2 or 3 years ago, we wouldn't even think about, we'd get a car with gas and a gas-driven engine. And now we're talking about cars with electric engines. And probably, the future looks like, that's going to be a thing of the past. Gas stations are going to be a thing of the past because we are going to electric cars. A lot of companies are going to mostly or all electric cars. So there's been so much change in cars in the past 2 years, 3 years. And that's what's happening in healthcare as well. If one thing good has come out of this debacle of Obamacare, it's that people are saying, I have this dollar. Where am I going to spend it? And they're spending it on things that they seem to get the best results with. Now, in the United States, we spend around $30 billion every year on alternative medicine. Now, that's a pretty high number. But one has to wonder why people in America are going to spend that much money on what one prominent drug company referred to as eclectic or unconventional healthcare practices. Well, you can call it what you want as long as it works, right? According to a Time magazine article covering the National Health Statistics Report, which liberally used the term complementary as a nod to the quick-growing trend of complementary medicine. I just, again, have to laugh at using the word complementary. Complementary medicine approaches are alternative types of healing outside the realm of Western medicine, and they're fairly popular in the United States. An estimated 60 million Americans spend money on them each year. 4.1 million children have used some type of complementary medicine. And all out-of-pocket costs for these types are about $30.2 billion. Now, you look at that, $30.2 billion. That's a lot of money. You're thinking people spending that much money on alternative health care? That's only about 1% of how much money we spend on health care in the United States. $30 billion is 1%. So we're spending a heck of a lot of money on health care. And how many people are getting amazing results? Raise your hands. Not a lot of you. Now, I am not against medicine. I am not against drugs. This is not a show where I'm picking on anybody. I'm discussing why it's become so popular. And years ago, when I first got in practice, was 32 years ago now, medical professionals, medical doctors, couldn't even associate, according to the American Medical Association. They weren't supposed to associate with anyone who wasn't licensed to prescribe medication, which technically meant they couldn't even talk to their own nurses. But optometrists, chiropractors, health food store owners, nurses, technically they weren't even supposed to talk to these people because they were so far out there. And I remember in college, studying meditation. I was studying transcendental meditation. And my mother was so worried about me. She thought I was going to, face east, sell all my belongings, shave my head, become a monk. And that was laughed at. Meditation, that's voodoo, that's witchcraft. And now it's being taught everywhere. It's taught in senior citizen homes. Because when you meditate, you can control a lot of your body functions. Chiropractic, same way. Years and years ago, you were the quacks, you were the outcasts, or not real doctors. And now I'm amazed how many patients come to me in the healthcare profession. Medical doctors, nurses, physician's assistants. So it's become mainstream in a very short period of time. And you're going to see, I promise, that you're going to see more and more mainstream alternative healthcare practitioners just becoming primary care practitioners. So things like homeopathy, chiropractic, supplements, yoga, naturopathy, Ayurveda, special diets, hypnosis, acupuncture, chelation, massage, energy healing. The things that were thought weird are actually now something that's commonplace. So let's give you a quick breakdown on that. We're going to talk some things that you can do to become part of this very popular movement. $14.7 billion spent on alternative healthcare practitioners such as, this is interesting, they put yoga instructors and chiropractors in the same grouping. $14.7 billion. $12.8 billion on supplements and $2.7 billion on CDs, books, and self-help materials. The neat part about this show is you don't have to spend anything. You get all this for free just by listening. And by the way, if you don't know this, I archive my shows on my website, drjoeesposito.com. And there's hundreds of hours of shows there. And I know you're not going to listen to every show. And by the way, I know you're not going to do everything I say. But I just do something. Take a step forward, and you're going to be amazed what happens. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, that's usually a sign there's something wrong. If you have digestive problems, something wrong. So consider your symptoms as a warning sign and not just a nuisance. And how can I cover them up? But by the way, I videotape a lot of my live lectures as well, and I put them on my website as well. Some people are visual learners. Some people are auditory learners. And that's what I want you to do is I want you to take more control of your own life. Find out what works for you. There's a real good book called The 5 Languages of Love, and I have no connection to this book. But what it does is explains how different people are motivated by different things. And so you might be someone who enjoys gifts, and somebody else might be someone who enjoys praise or quality time or acts of service. And when you learn about how to deal with other people, they're a lot easier to deal with. When you learn how to deal with your own health, it's a lot easier to deal with it. So I want you to consider what's going on in your body and find out why these things are happening. So we have to take a break in a second, but when we come back, we have callers already. So folks, if you have a question, go to give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE, and we will answer your calls if you have on my website, drjoe@drjoeesposito.com. Folks, got to run. Don't go anywhere. I'm not really running. Just got to go to a break. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Thanks for being here, everybody. Do appreciate that. This is the show that's going to help get you healthy. It's going to save you a ton of money, feel better, probably live a lot longer, and enjoy those years. You know, one of the things, we're talking about why alternative healthcare or complementary healthcare is so popular. And one of the things I see, too, is we have a lot of patients in our offices that are seniors. Because sometimes you need a little kick in the fanny to get motivated. And many times seniors come in, and we do accept Medicare, which I know that's kind of funny. We're one of the few doctors in the world that still take Medicare patients. And they say, you know, Doc, I finally realized after all my life, I've been partying and doing bad things to my body. And now I'm realizing that there's an end to this. And I want to make it comfortable. So I want to do all the things I can to extend my life. So sometimes you need a little kick in the fanny. I understand that. But don't wait to that point. Sometimes patients come to us and they say, well, Doc, it's so bad. And it's been like this for 20 years, 30 years. I remember a while ago I had a military fella come in and headaches for 22 years. He actually had to leave the military. His headaches were so bad. He came to us, and after about 4 or 5 treatments, he came in. He said, my headaches are gone. He said, what did you do? And I said, well, you had a pinched nerve in your neck. It went up to the head, and we unpinched the nerve, and the headache went away. He says, why aren't chiropractors in the military? And I said, well, technically we are. We're accepted in the military. We can go in as captains, but there's no place to put us. So we're still working on getting that all worked out. But imagine if we could relieve pain and agony and suffering from the military. How amazing would that make our troops? I really think that that's the secret right there. That's going to, we're already the world power. We can become a much stronger world power by having healthier troops. And so this is one of the reasons why the military is changing. I know the captain of an Air Force base, colonel of the Air Force base, right near my office was a patient. And he would send us patients like crazy. He said, man, I want my people working. I want them working hard. And he sent them to us. So alternative and complementary healthcare is really booming, and that includes chiropractic and also nutrition, which now leads into our caller, Lisa. How can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm so happy you called.
I was calling to see what kind of good probiotics that you could take to put the good bacteria in.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's talk about probiotics so people know what they are. Probiotics, pro means in favor of, biotic means life. So probiotics are in favor of life. So there's probiotics, which are good bacteria. Now, we're made up about 90 to 99% of our DNA in our body is bacteria. It's not human. It's bacteria. So we're mostly bacteria. And if we do things like drink chlorinated water, that kills bacteria. If you take antibiotics, either as a medicine or in a food, many times antibiotics are used in commercial meats and dairy products, we start to kill off the good bacteria in our body as well as the bad bacteria. But then the bad bacteria can take over. So by taking probiotics, we're reestablishing the good bacteria in our body. There's also something called prebiotics. Prebiotics you can't digest as a human, but bacteria can digest it and use it as food. And you get that from a lot of fruits and vegetables and things like nuts and seeds. So good probiotics, you want to make sure it's a super high quality because bacteria are bacteria. And if you take them and they're dead, well, they're not going to do you any good. We use probiotics and prebiotics in Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which is a product I talk about a lot. It's a product I take every day. In fact, I have it right in front of me here in the studio. I also use a company called Standard Process, and they don't sell to the public. They only sell to healthcare practitioners because I know they only have the best. So if you're going to go to a cheap drugstore and pick up probiotics that are cheap, chances are they're not going to be as effective as the ones that are good.
Yeah, I bought the ones that was cheap and the ones that wasn't cheap, and neither one helped.
Oh, neither one helped. Okay, what seems to be the problem? Why do you think you need probiotics?
Well, I have the yeast real bad, and I have it into my butt and all.
Oh, sure. Okay, so a couple of things is you want to do something to kill off the yeast. Because probiotics alone, what happens is in your colon you have over 100 different types of bacteria, and you also have something called yeast. Now, the yeast helps digest sugar when you eat it.
Uh-huh.
If you've taken antibiotics or did something to kill off the bacteria, the yeast are not affected by antibiotics. So now the yeast start to multiply, and they can burrow holes into your colon. And when they get into the body, then they set up shop in warm, moist places like your bottom, your foot, crotch, ears, armpits. And so you're going to have to do something more than probiotics to get that yeast if it's already spread to the whole body. If you call my office, we can get you on a protocol for that. There's a certain brand I'd recommend you go to a health food store and get. I don't want to say I'm on the air.
Okay.
And we can put you on that. But that seems to be the thing that, and it's going to take a few months to get this yeast to die off.
Okay.
Now, one more thing. If you start killing off the yeast, you might feel really sick because as the yeast die, now your immune system has to get this dead yeast out of your system. So a lot of times when people go through a yeast detoxification, they start to feel tired, anxious, angry. It's the dead yeast dying off. But if you call the office, 844-44-Dr. Joe, and I'm not on the air, Lisa, we can tell you what brand to use, okay?
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And, folks, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. And as we just told Lisa, that number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. So you can get me through my website. You can get it through the you can call us. Easy accessible, easy to find. And just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. All right, U.S. Health National Center for Complementary and Integrative Medicine said the amount of money spent in the U.S. by people who disregard their lack of health care insurance in pursuit of alternative health modalities shows there's a greater amount of trust in them than in conventional medicine. I'm not sure I agree with that statement. I trust medical doctors. I trust my doctors that I use. So I think they're getting a little crazy there and just saying, well, because people are going to alternative healthcare practitioners, that's because they trust them. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they don't trust the other doctors. So here I am trying to play devil's advocate here. There's a lot of good doctors in this world. But what's happening is doctors are not making the same amount of money that they used to make. Let's call it what it is. And so less and less doctors are going to medical school, chiropractic school, dental school, because the money just isn't there. Veterinary school, by the way, is the most expensive. Isn't that interesting? And, side note, the veterinarians have the highest rate of suicide. Just to throw it out there. So doctors are spending more and more money to go to school, making less and less money. The regulations are just insane. The paperwork that I have to fill out on every patient that comes in, we spend many times more time on paperwork than we do with the patient. Just to fill out the papers to send to the insurance company that they said they're going to cover the visit anyway. So why are we filling out this paperwork? You're going to cover it anyway or not cover it. It really is insane. So the problem that I see happening is that we're having a doctor shortage. We're having less and less doctors, and because of that, you, the public, are going to suffer. So you need to take control. You need to take steps to make sure that you obtain and maintain good health. One thing you can do, avoid bad foods. Is it hard? Sometimes it is. Bad food tastes good. But if you can take control of your diet, that's the one thing that you can do right now to save a ton of money and probably add quality years to your life. I talk about something called the 7 deadly sins of nutrition: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Avoid those. Is it hard? Yeah, it is. Is it worth it? Yeah, it is. Because I've been sick and I've been healthy, and trust me, it's a lot more fun being healthy than it is to be sick. Let's take the next call. If you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Is it Michael?
Yes.
Okay, Michael, how can we make your day better?
I'm a regular listener, and I have migrated over to being a vegan, and I'm recovering from cancer, going through all the steps of follow-up, and I'm about to have a colonoscopy, and they do the prepping with over-the-counter, and so they do sports drinks they recommend, and there's 21 grams of sugar, and you do two 32-ounce bottles. And I was just curious. They said my alternative would be to take a prescription medication. So just from your perspective, been totally off sugar, any additional sugar for about 4 months now.
Well, and you're saying, what should you do?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if, they're saying they can either give me a prescription or I do the over-the-counter option. And I just didn't know if those 21 grams of sugar in the two 32-ounce bottles was really an issue.
It's bad. I mean, I wouldn't recommend you do it. But again, if this is a one-shot deal, it's probably not that big a deal. Follow their advice because they do the colonoscopies. They know what works. I'd rather follow their advice on that one. Again, if you're doing everything else right and then you do something like this, it's not the end of the world. It's when you do the bad stuff all the time and don't do anything good, that's when it becomes the end of the world. So,
okay.
All right. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if you do have a question, folks, 844-44-Dr. Joe, 844-44-DRJOE. And we're talking today about why alternative health care is becoming so popular, and it's booming in the past couple of years. And like I said, if there's one good thing that's come out of this Medicare medical debacle and Medicare debacle, it's that people now have to spend their own money. And they're saying, okay, I have this money anyway. I have to spend it somewhere. Where am I going to go? Because a lot of times people have these $6,000, $8,000 deductibles. So essentially, you don't have insurance because if you can't afford this $8,000 deductible, you don't have insurance anyway. So people are saying, I want to spend this money someplace smart. And the reason shows like mine, books like mine are selling like crazy, supplements like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source are so popular all over the world is because people realize when I take supplements, I see a dramatic change in my health. And I take issue sometimes. I'll read a report and it says, well, we did a study on this supplement and it didn't work. Well, then I always, 100% of the time, I dig deeper into the report and they use a synthetic version. For example, they might have used synthetic vitamin C versus whole vitamin C. Like ascorbic acid is not the whole vitamin C molecule. And so you want to make sure you're using the real form of the supplements. And then when I read a study, the study says, well, the supplement did work. So it's a type of supplement that they're using. It's how often it was taken. Was there a control group? You can't just throw a scientific study out there, and I guess you can because it works, and say, okay, well, this is the definitive answer. Because things that are tried and true, good nutrition, eating more fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, having fiber, making sure your bowels are moving 2 to 3 times a day, making sure you have a healthy nervous system. These are the things that are tried and true and work. And they've worked for centuries. So it's not going to change just because one study came out saying, well, this is bad for you. Because look at the long-term effects. That's what you want to see. So Journal of the American Medical Association published an enlightening article, revealed that following heart disease and cancer, ready for this one? The American healthcare system is the 3rd highest cause of preventable death in the United States. It's according to a group called the Commonwealth Fund. Despite the most expensive healthcare system, the United States ranks last among overall health in 11 industrialized nations on measures of health system quality, efficiency, access to care, equality, and healthy lives. So here we are in the United States spending more money than anyone else in the world per person, and we rank dead last. I think we're doing something wrong. Folks, if you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe with the number one Dr. Joe in the world. We talked about Super Greens and Essential Source. That's the absolute minimum supplements I believe everybody should be taking every day, most people. That's on my website. They're also on Amazon, too. You can get my books on Amazon as well as my website and listen to archived radio shows, podcasts. drjoeesposito.com. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're ready to turn your life around, this is the show that you need to listen to, not just today, but all the time. On my website, drjoeesposito.com, we archive hundreds of hours of radio shows. We videotape my live lectures. I write articles there. And the cost for all of that information is my gift to you. It's no charge. Why? Because this is information I just can't keep to myself. You need to know these things so that you can take control of your own health. Because today we're talking about why alternative health care is booming, why it's so popular. And one of the reasons is that it works in many cases, not every case. I mean, I have a list of doctors that I refer to. Orthopedic surgeons, neurologists. We can give injections. We can do neurological workups. So, yeah, there are things I can't do in my offices. But I have doctors that I trust that I would go to and have gone to if I have an issue, even dentists. So we want to know, I want you to know that there is a source of people you can trust out there, because I trust them, and that you can get well. Now, the Journal of the American Medical Association, they wrote an article, and they indicated that the fatal events from iatrogenic causes. Have you ever heard the word iatrogenic? Iatrogenic means it's due to a physician or a hospital's activity, manner, or therapy, and they're responsible for about 210,000 Americans dying annually. That's a lot of people, isn't it? Including deaths related to diagnostic errors, errors in omission and failure. That means they forgot to do something. Not following guidelines. The number, if you add those in to the other ones that are in there, you have 440,000 preventable hospital deaths every year. This is according to the Journal of the American Medical Association. 440,000. Divide that by 365 days a year. That's how many people a day die because somebody made a boo-boo. According to several research studies in the last decade, a total of 225,000 Americans per year have died as a result of their medical treatments. 12,000 from unnecessary surgery, 7,000 from medicine errors, 20,000 from errors in the hospital, 80,000 from infections in the hospital, and 106,000 deaths per year due to negative effects of medication. And I see this often. Now, I am not against medication. Please understand that. But you've got to be careful. When you take a prescription or over-the-counter, make sure you read that little packet that they stick in there, that little thing that looks like a mouse typed it. It's so tiny. Read it. I know it's boring. Read it, because there are side effects. There are interactions that may occur that you don't even know about. Did you know that if you took birth control pills and ate grapefruits, it can weaken the effect of the birth control pill? That's kind of important, isn't it? Yeah. If the doctor never told you that and you're taking birth control pills for obvious reasons, you might want to consider not eating grapefruit. So there are certain foods you need to avoid when you're taking medication. It's in there. In fact, even on your cell phone. Anybody ever read the packet on their cell phone? Probably not. And on the cell phone, it says, never, ever put your phone next to your ear. What? Yeah, read it. It's in there. Because the electromagnetic frequency from the phone, if you put it next to your ear, can actually heat up your skull and can heat up your brain and can lead to things like tumors. There's a lot of studies now pointing to the fact that brain tumors can occur. So if you do use your cell phone, hold it just an inch away from your ear is fine. Or what I do is I have an earpiece. I have a wired earpiece, and I plug it in and talk into my earpiece. So the warnings are there. You can't say nobody told me. Nobody told me because you didn't read the directions. Let's go back to the callers. If you have a question, give me a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Pam, how can we make your day better? Hello, Pam.
Hello.
Hi, Pam.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Joe?
I'm so happy you called. Tell me how I can make your day better.
Well, I'm calling because I have a friend that has prostate cancer, and he just had the seeds implanted.
Yes.
And I'd like for you to tell me what type of diet he should be on, because he's going to have to go through 5 days of radiation for the next several weeks up until the end of August.
Sure. Okay.
And it's very important to me because I know I had a father and grandfather that had prostate cancer.
No, I'm with you.
And I know you know what he should be eating.
I do, Pam, and I'm going to tell you to tell him, okay? And if he won't listen to you, I'm going to put this show on my website tomorrow probably, and he can listen to the show. So what he needs to do is you got to stay away from animal products. That's meat, dairy, cheese, butter, yogurt, ice cream, eggs, because animal products have been shown to adversely affect people with prostate cancer. So he's got to go to a plant-based diet. I also want him to do about 50 to 60% of his diet raw. Now, when I say raw, broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, because raw food has something in it called enzymes. And enzymes break down inflammation. They help the body heal faster. So you got to do the raw food. In fact, I do Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And when I made them, it's raw. We make it with raw ingredients because the enzymes are still active. And enzymes are so overlooked in the healthcare world. And that's why I take Super Greens and Essential Source every day. In fact, I'm taking it right now here in the studio. So you might want to get him that as well, because it'll also help alkalize his system. Because cancer doesn't like an alkaline environment. Cancer likes an acid environment. So if we can get him on things like Super Greens and Essential Source, lots of vegetables, green leafies, celery, spinach, figs, water is going to help alkalize his system. And the raw food, staying away from the animal products, that's going to also help his bowels move, because the prostate sits right next to the bowels. And if a man is constipated, it can put irritation and pressure on the prostate gland. So that's and also as a chiropractor, of course, I would check the nerves in his low back, because the nerves in the low back control the colon, sex organs, and bladder. So you want to get that checked as well.
Okay.
Okay, Pam, let's
All
start
right.
there. And that should do some wonderful things. If it doesn't, we can go deeper.
Okay. Well, I'm going to recommend that he contact you, Dr. Joe.
I am more than happy to help him any way I can, Pam. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joe.
Have a great day. All right, let's keep taking callers. We've got lots of them. 844-44 Dr. Joe is the number here at the studio. That number rings through to my offices, by the way, when I'm not on the air. Mitchell, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe. I've got an aging mother, and she has had diarrhea for the last 7 or 8 years.
Uh-huh.
I know it's a great problem to have for such a long period of time, but she's been down to the Mayo Clinic and a couple other doctors that, we thought could help, but we haven't gotten any results from anything.
Absolutely.
I listened to your program several times in the past, and on one of the episodes I heard you talking about the digestive system, and I believe you even had focused on diarrhea at one point.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, is there anything that she can do to sort of alleviate this?
Sure. A couple of things, Mitchell. If she's been to all these other doctors, we know what it's not. It's not a tumor. It's not cancer in the colon. So what it probably is, there's a valve. It's right on your right side between your belly button and your right hip. It's called the ileocecal valve. And that valve closes when food is in your small intestine, and then it opens and allows the food to pass from the small intestine into the large intestine, and then the valve closes again. You absorb water in your large intestine and pass it out. That's normal ileocecal valve function. What I find a lot of times in folks, not just old folks, but young folks, is it's a muscle. And that muscle can either spasm, and if it gets stuck open, we have diarrhea. If it gets stuck closed, we have constipation. So what I do with my patients is you go between the belly button and the hip, and I don't know if you want to do it, but you rub in a clockwise motion, and you'll feel something that kind of feels like the tip of your nose through the skin. And have her lay down on her back and just have her relax. And just rub in a clockwise motion. And what that can do is help relax the ileocecal valve and hopefully get it to start opening and closing again. If that doesn't do it, you might want to bring her to come see us, because the nerves in the low back control the ileocecal valve. We want to check that for her. Okay?
Okay. Well, it sounds good, Dr. Joe. I'll see if I can get her up here to make an appointment and get in to see you guys.
That'd be great. I'd appreciate that. All right, folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44 Dr. Joe, my website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, this is the show where you naturally get you well and keep you well, and we're talking today about why alternative healthcare is booming, why it's so popular, why shows like this are so popular, why things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, my supplements are just crazy, how popular they are, my books, because people want to learn how to take care of themselves. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. They may not be getting the results that they were hoping for. And again, I'm not against drugs. I'm not against surgery. And if you've listened to the news recently, there's a huge increase in opioid deaths. And it's all over the news. And we don't know what to do about it. And people are dying of opioids. And the biggest increase, of course, is the synthetic opioids, which went up about 80%. According to the CDC, the increase in synthetic opioid deaths coincided with the increased reports by law enforcement of illicitly manufactured fentanyl. Prescription painkillers such as oxycodone and morphine are derived from the same poppy plants as heroin. Most heroin users initially start using prescription painkillers. Now, I was a guest on a colleague of mine's show a while ago, about a week or so ago, and we brought that topic up, and I said the problem is that we take painkillers to do what? Cover up pain. And the issue is if we would address the cause of the pain and not just treat the symptom, which is the pain, we would help a lot of these people because they wouldn't get hooked on the drugs. And what happens is your body produces natural painkillers. We all do. All of us, all day, every day. When we start taking an outside source, our body says, oh, I don't have to produce my own anymore. I'm getting it from an outside source. And then you try to come off those drugs, and you can't because now everything hurts. So you say, well, I'm just going to take one more. Anybody can become an addict. It's not really a personality type. If you start taking these hardcore drugs, you can become an addict. And you can think, I'm not like that. It's not going to affect me. Yeah, it can. So my point is that if we address the cause of the pain, and that's why chiropractic is so popular when it comes to pain management, is we try to find out the cause. Is it a pinched nerve? Is it a muscle spasm? Is it a nutritional deficiency? And if we get to the cause of the problem, we're less likely to have to need an external source treating the symptoms. And I'm okay with you taking medication as my patient, but let's see if we can do what it takes to get you off the medication, get your body healthy. Because people say, well, Doc, I don't want to take those meds anymore. I said, I can't tell you to do that. I'm not your primary care physician. I can show you how to get healthy, though, so you don't need them. And then people go, okay, I'm fine with that. But this explosion in opioid deaths is, yeah, it's cheap high. And once you get hooked, it's hard to get off it. But again, if you started taking it because you had pain, let's try to get to the cause. And that's what we do in our offices. Let's go back to the callers. We have lots of callers here. Let's see. Jim, how can we make your day better?
Dr. Joe, a moment ago you spoke to a woman about prostate cancer.
Yes.
Would you recommend the same or similar diet to prevent prostate problems?
That's the diet I eat, and I eat it because I know that it's the most beneficial diet you can eat to prevent all types of diseases. So if you eat a plant-based diet, your risk of all diseases that I know of drops dramatically, and you'll add another 11 years to your life, statistically speaking. Yeah.
Now I know I've heard you say that wild game is okay. I don't touch the store-bought, but
okay.
But I don't have a good place to hunt anyway, so I'm a vegan. But is in terms of meat compared to meat, wild game, does it have the same effect or no effect compared to store-bought meat?
It's better. I don't think it's good, but it's better. Yeah. So if you're going to eat animal products, I always recommend organic only, or in your case, wild game. It's a better choice because you're less likely to have the steroids, hormone chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified foods that they were fed, the stressful environment they were raised in, the way they were slaughtered. Even if you look at what's called halal meat is the way the animal is slaughtered. It has to be slaughtered with the least amount of pain, with the least amount of stress, and then all the blood has to be drained out of it. So it's not saying what the animal was fed, but even the slaughtering process could determine how, quote, healthy or unhealthy the meat is.
Well, I mean, the adrenaline, I'm sure, goes up.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you're in a room and everybody in the other room is getting killed and you hear them getting killed and you're next in line. You're going to be a little stressed out, and that's what's happening with the animals, too. They hear it. They get stressed out. The adrenaline is released. It gets into the muscles. You eat that. It's not that good for you, so.
Okay.
Yep, but a plant-based diet is absolutely positively, as far as I know, I've never heard anything better to help prevent all diseases.
Well, I've been there 2 years.
Good job, Jim. Keep it up, man.
All right, thank you.
Thanks so much. All right, let's keep going down the line here. Is it Lonnie?
Yes, it's Lonnie.
Hi, Lonnie. How can we make your day better?
Wow. So, I hear a lot of people. Allegedly, I have a fibroid. I just turned 50. I've never had any problems, any irregularities, nothing at all.
Okay.
All of a sudden, I have this stomach pain for a few days. I go to the ER. They do a CT. They tell me, it's a mass. Gave me some painkillers. Told me go see a gyno.
Okay.
That's really all they just sent me out the door like that. And then, so I went to go see a gyno. They did an exam, but then they said they need to do an ultrasound. I can't afford the ultrasound. Now, people are telling me all kinds of remedies and all this stuff.
Okay, well, let me give it to you straight. Okay, now you do have the fibroids definitely, or they're just suspecting it?
They're just suspecting it because the CT just shows a mass.
Okay.
And, then they did a physical exam, but I don't know what an ultrasound will show that a CT didn't.
Okay, well, the ultrasound shows different things than CTs, and MRI show different things too. So when you see something that's not clear, you go to another alternative imaging to see if you can get a better view of it. So here's my advice for you. Absolutely positively no stimulants. That's caffeine, okay, or any type of other stimulants, because caffeine will make any type of fibroid worse. So you're off caffeine for the rest of your life. That's it.
Okay.
I also want you...
25. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I also want you off all the sugar. Breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, rice, because the sugar is going to make it worse. You got to, what we're talking about the prostate, you got to also alkalize the system. So celery, spinach, and figs are awesome as far as alkalizing the system. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, not only are they the minimum amount of nutrients that you need for your body every day, it also very good at alkalizing the system. Drinking a lot of water is going to be important for you. And you also, I would always check the nerves in the low back because the nerves in the low back control the uterus. And we've had lots of patients over the years when we find masses in their uterus, and we make sure it's not cancer, of course, and it's not cancer, and we get them on a good plant-based diet. We get their spine working, get the bowels moving 2 to 3 times a day, and most cases, the growths, whatever they are, shrink dramatically. Sometimes just disappear. So you have control of this one. You can control your diet, Lonnie, and just don't put bad stuff in anymore.
A lot of that you're just saying, I pretty much changed like 15 years ago. I don't drink soda at all. I gave up coffee many years ago. The sweets, like right now, I'm getting a free bagel every day at a certain place.
Nope, that's gone. That's done. Free doesn't mean it's good for you, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I know. But other than that, I really don't. I try. My daughter's a vegan, and I try. Probably my income probably has me eating the worst.
No, it's the cheapest diet that I know of is eating a plant-based diet. You can buy a bag of dried beans and live very well for a couple of dollars a meal or less.
Yeah, I do. I put dried beans in the slow cooker in the morning.
Perfect.
Before
Yeah.
I leave.
Perfect.
Yep. I might put like a small piece of smoked turkey in there.
Well, no. Weren't you listening, Lonnie? Is that you I just spoke to for the past 5 minutes? Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah. No more. Done. Until those growths go away, that's it. And I want you to eat more raw food, too. So broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados. And let's see what happens.
Avocado this morning.
Excellent.
But I had it with some organic crackers.
Okay, no more crackers. Okay, I don't know how else to say this, Lonnie. No, bad girl. No more crackers, Lonnie. No more crackers. All right, Lonnie, I got to go. Folks, if you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. My website, if you want to order Dr. Joe Super Greens, Essential Source. They're also available on Amazon, by the way, too. My books, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. This is the show that's giving you straight talk on how you can take control of your own health. I give you things that you can walk away with every show and start implementing in your life right away. And not just for you, for your friends, your family, your children. There's a Moody Blues song, and one of the lines from the song is, "And I'm frightened for your children." And I am. I'm really frightened for this next generation of kids because before 1980, we didn't have all the steroids, hormones, chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified foods. Weed killers that we're using on our foods, and now we do. And this generation is less active. They're certainly outside a lot less, so there's a vitamin D deficiency that we didn't see way back when. They're not getting exercise. They're not getting their body moving. And when you move, muscles contract, and they pump something called lymphatic fluid through your body. The lymphatics kind of flush out your system from viruses, germs, bacteria, and they keep your body healthy. And the food that these kids are being exposed to, and electromagnetic frequency. I mean, kids are constantly on their phones. I always have to laugh. I said something the other day. I saw 2 young girls sitting somewhere. I forget where it was. And I said, "Are you guys texting each other?" And they kind of looked up like, "Well, we maybe, yeah." Like, I guess we do. Just sitting next to each other. So this is a whole new world than it was even just 20, 30 years ago. 40 years ago now. But we've got to be careful. And so what I'm seeing, and I've been in practice 32 years now, is this swing of the pendulum has gone from alternative healthcare being, poo-pooed and laughed at into becoming the mainstream treatment for many, many patients. And it excites me. So we're talking today about why holistic alternative healthcare is becoming so popular. And another thing is, years ago when I was in practice, we would never have an orthodox or an ordinary medical professional come in to our practice as a patient. And now we see doctors and surgeons and nurses like crazy. Gosh, we see so many patients that are nurses coming into our practice, and then also the referrals. We used to never get referrals. Now we get referrals on a regular basis. So it's really exciting that the world has opened up and said, you know what, let's all work together. And that's where I think you, the patient, is benefiting the most. Because I have surgeons send me patients and say, "Doc, why don't you work on them first? See if you and your team of doctors can get them better. And if you can't, we could always do the surgery or do the more aggressive treatments. But let's try a conservative approach first." And I think that's really great and exciting to me. And I'm very honored, by the way, I'm very honored when I have referrals from my colleagues like that. It's really kind of cool. But many healthcare providers still will complain about medication and how, we don't want to use medication. The side effects are bad, but they're still not getting to the cause of the problem. They're treating the symptoms. And I'm not against treating the symptoms. If I have a blazing headache, I'm going to take a painkiller. But then I'm going to go to my offices, grab one of my doctors and say, hey, find out why I had a headache last night. Find out why my shoulder hurts. I know I went kayaking and maybe my back hurts from that. And they'll check me out. It's a pinched nerve, a muscle spasm, or whatever, a nutritional deficiency. And I'll just fix it right up. So when you understand you got to treat your body just like a machine, that's why holistic and alternative healthcare is so popular now, because everybody's kind of getting it. The American Society of Consultant Pharmacists, their website states, while medications are probably the single most important factor in improving the quality of life for older Americans, the nation's seniors are especially at risk for medication-related problems due to physiological changes of aging, higher incidence of multi-chronic diseases and conditions, and greater consumption of prescription over-the-counter medication. So basically they're saying it's important for seniors, their medication, and maybe add quality to their lives, but there's also a downside. Stats from that same website amazed me. Seniors 65 to 69 take around 14 prescriptions per year. If you're 80 to 84, you're taking about 18 prescriptions per year. Among seniors, medication-related problems cost $177.4 billion a year. That's with a B. And that's prescription-related problems. It's not the reason they took it. It's the prescriptions causing the problem. Adverse drugs are among the top 5 greatest threats to health to seniors, and 15 to 25% of drugs taken by seniors are unnecessary or inappropriate. Now, remember who wrote this. This is the American Society of Consultant Pharmacists, and they're saying that. They sell the stuff. So, again, I'm not against drugs, but I want you to start taking control of your own health so that you don't have to become part of this. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number, by the way, rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. Tammy, how can we make your day better?
Hi. When I was a little girl, both my eardrums ruptured. I also have a history of temporal lobe seizures, which I know has to do with the hearing.
Uh-huh.
Well, ever since then, my ears have been extremely sensitive to loud noises. I can't handle the thunder, the fireworks.
Sure.
I wear earplugs to the movie theater because it's too loud, and I just wondered if there was a surgery that can correct this to kind of tone down the loudness, or what kind of doctor would you recommend me going to find out answers to this?
Well, the obvious thing being an audiologist, and they could check the hearing and find out why. But what I find sometimes, if you've had temporal lobe seizures, temporal lobe is part of the brain, folks. If those who don't know what that is,
right.
It's one section of the brain. What I find many times is that the temporal bone, the skull bone, can be shifted. Just like a bone in the spine can move out of place, you pinch a nerve. And as a chiropractor, we put those bones back in place. We can also work on the skull and do what's called cranial manipulation and move the skull bones around. I know when I was around 10 or 12 years old, I got hit by a car, and they declared me dead on the spot. I was in Germany. They put a blanket over me, left me on the side of the road. And this was before cell phones. And they found an ambulance come. And when they put me in the ambulance, I moved. They went, I guess he's not dead. And I've gotten my cranium worked on several times throughout my life because the skull bones apparently had shifted from that. So my first thought is it a cranial lesion, cranial bone problem, and work on that. And then I would also go to an audiologist to have that checked. And if you don't know any audiologists, we have some we can recommend you to as well.
Okay, so with the cranial issues, would I see neurologists?
We can do the cranial manipulation in our offices. We have several of my doctors are trained in cranial work. In fact, I trained under the man who worked, the founder of it, so to speak, because I've been around for a while, Dr. Bertrand Desjarnais. But I would say come see us first. Let's work on that first, and then we can get you to an audiologist as well.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't know you can move skull bones, and it's funny because years ago, Dr. Still actually was the founder of osteopathy, and he said that the skull bones moved, and that was the turn of the 1900s, and he was poo-pooed. Oh, skull doesn't move. Once you're adult, it's fused, and late 1900s, they had machines that could measure skull bone movement, and they were like, oh, hey, guess what? He was right. Kind of like Nikola Tesla, people always said he was a nut, and now they're like, well, maybe he wasn't so nutsy. Lane, how can we make your day better?
Hey, Dr. Joe, how are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for calling. How can we make your day better?
Listen, I recently underwent a seed insertion for radiation treatment for prostate cancer.
Uh-huh.
And pretty soon I will be undergoing radiation treatments. In the interim, I need to know, what do I need to do diet-wise as far as including and avoiding to better benefit me?
Absolutely. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to definitely stay away from the animal products. Now, we talk about this a lot, actually. But animal products have been shown to make prostate problems worse because it can affect the hormones as well. So I would definitely stay away from all animal products. That's meat, butter, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, eggs. Second thing is a lot of raw fruits and vegetables. And I would take something like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source because that's raw, it's loaded with enzymes, it's going to alkalize your system. Check the nerves in the low back. That's the nerve to the colon, sex organs, and bladder. And so I would take a multi-phase approach to that if I was diagnosed with prostate issues. And just be careful because one of the drugs many times they'll offer for prostate cancer is something to shut down your testosterone production. Because one theory is that testosterone can make the cancer cells grow more. Well, if you have a weak heart or weak blood vessels or weak muscles, and the heart's a muscle, and you take this, you need testosterone to make the muscles work. And so it can affect your heart. So be very, very careful with that treatment. I'm very leery of that treatment. So that's the approach I would take.
Okay, and the you said the raw superfoods.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, okay? Hold on 1 second. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, my website, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. This is the show where we naturally get you well and keep you well, and I appreciate all the calls. Also, I want to remind you to follow me on Facebook, Facebook.com/drjoeesposito.com. Follow me on Instagram. We got a lot of people follow me on Instagram. We just finally got on Instagram, so not long ago. We've got a ton of followers. So follow us on Instagram. A lot of people call us for needing second opinions. Of course, a lot of questions we get on the air, too. But a lot of patients come in our offices for second opinions as well, just to make sure. I always like to get a second opinion on things to make sure we're getting the right thing. And that goes for everything from fixing cars to fixing your body. If something makes sense, great. If it doesn't, you might want to consider looking into something else. So today we're talking about why alternative healthcare is just booming. And it's just crazy how cool it is. Now, a lot of people... in years past, many people assumed doctors were the only ones that had any idea how to treat illness. And if a doctor handed a prescription, you filled it, you took it, and there was no questions. I remember being young, and my family doctor was Dr. Waltman. He's dead now, so I can talk about him. And I was in Hoboken, New Jersey. We lived on Willow Avenue, went around a corner, and we went to Dr. Waltman's office, and everything, no matter what it was, I just remember pulling down my pants and getting a shot in my fanny. And it was just antibiotics, because antibiotics were so hot back then. It was a thing that cured everything. Well, now we're realizing that antibiotics can kill off the good bacteria in the colon as well. And if you kill off the good bacteria, you have something in your colon called yeast. And yeast can start to overgrow, burrow holes in your colon, get into your blood system, and you can get something called a systemic yeast infection. And a lot of you out there have it, and you don't know it. So here's the test I want you to consider doing. It's free. That's the cool part about a lot of alternative healthcare that I teach you. It's free. Take a clear glass of water, put it next to your bed tonight. When you wake up tomorrow, get a good amount of spit in your mouth and spit into the glass. And you can wait up to an hour, and if you start to see little tentacles come down, it could be, that's usually a sign of yeast infection. So it kind of looks like a man of war, a jellyfish. And if you have a yeast infection, it usually takes some work to get rid of. And you might see jock itch, you might have itching fanny, you might have skin rashes, tinea versicolor, thrush in your mouth, armpits itching, jock itch, athlete's foot, toenail fungus. These are all signs you could have a systemic yeast infection. And you want to treat that because it's putting an amazing amount of stress on your immune system because your immune system is constantly trying to fight this yeast. But what the yeast does, the yeast is kind of sneaky. It has a protein covering around it. So your immune system kind of floats by, looks at it, and goes, that looks pretty safe, and just keeps going. So it camouflages itself. And that's another reason why eating raw foods are so important, because when you have a high level of enzymes in your body, the enzymes can help break down this protein cover and then expose the yeast, and then the immune system can attack it. So I really want you to consider eating more raw food. Broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados. I grow cucumbers in my backyard. They grow like crazy. And as long as you keep picking the cucumbers, the plant will keep making more of them. As soon as they grow too big, the plant stops making them. So when they get to a certain height, don't think bigger is better. When they get to, a normal size, pick them, and the plant will make more. Same thing with basil. I grow a lot of basil, and basil is very good for the immune system, for stress. And the more you pick it, the better it grows. So don't think you're going to keep letting it grow and grow and grow. You don't want to do that. And that's how a lot of vegetables are, too. Lettuces work that way in the cooler months when I grow lettuce. But try to, if you don't want to grow it, buy it. It's very inexpensive. And the cool part is that a lot of stores now are competing for your dollar. And grocery prices are dropping. And I think they're going to continue to drop. Now with Amazon buying Whole Foods, I think we've got a good chance that our grocery bills are going to get less. But I couldn't imagine a less expensive lifestyle than a plant-based diet. It's ridiculously inexpensive. Just go to any restaurant, cover up the food, look at the prices. The cheapest thing on the menu almost inevitably is going to be the best thing for you. And as people get more and more concerned about taking care of themselves, and they're realizing that, and doctors are now realizing it too. That's why so many doctors refer to us, that we don't know this answer, Joe. Maybe you and your team of doctors can help us. And we co-manage the case. But that's why I leave my website open 24 hours a day at no charge. We archive radio shows, videos of my lectures, articles that I've written. It's all there. And if you want to order Super Greens, an essential source, which I think everybody should be taking, that's on the website, drjoeesposito.com. In fact, somebody just sent me a message on Facebook and says, where can I get information about that? It's on the website. It's also on Amazon, too, if you have an Amazon account. And my books are there, too. Eating Right for the Health of It, Prescription for Extreme Health. Really good information. If you're somebody who reads, I think you'll really enjoy those books. They're really well written and real easy to understand. If you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. Jim, how can we make your day better?
Yes, sir, Dr. Joe. I have a thoracic aneurysm, which is a ballooning of that artery.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the vascular system, the muscles are on the outside. And I was wondering, has there been a case, probably be a better question, where natural diet and everything and moderate exercise had improved that, or is that usually always a surgical?
No, I see them improve all the time. As a chiropractor, we take x-rays, and if we x-ray the low back, we see it. I got to come up with an actual stat. I have to ask my doctors to come up with a stat for me. I would probably say 1 in 10 people. I mean, that's how common it is. And they don't know it. And, until you take, and so many times I'll find it, and if it's over 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters, we've already called the ambulance and said, come get this patient to the thoracic surgeon or the vascular surgeon immediately. Because at 5 millimeter or 5 centimeters, you have the risk of it rupturing. And if it ruptures, game's over. You don't recover from that. So when the aorta gets clogged up, it becomes weaker and it balloons out. So what I'll tell people all the time is you got to change your diet. And in every patient that comes in our office, we do a nutritional workup. We go over their diet with them. We recommend usually Super Greens, an essential source, as a starting point, and then other ones if we need it. And we put together a protocol for them. And inevitably, I can't say 100% of the time, but almost inevitably, when patients do what we say, we may take a follow-up x-ray 6 months later, and you see the plaquing is getting substantially better. And I've had surgeons already call me up and say, first of all, thank you for sending, whoever, Bob, to us, because I'm his vascular surgeon and I never knew he had this problem. You found it. Nice spot. And without your diagnosis, he probably would have died.
Right.
And many times when we do the nutritional workup and chiropractic workup, we send them 6 months, a year later, and the doctor says it's dramatically improved. Keep doing what you're doing.
So Doc could at least put surgery as an option off the table for the present.
That's always the goal, yes. And in many cases, that's what happens. And hopefully that'll be your case. And sometimes it's tough to give up the breads and cookies and cakes and donuts and hamburgers. But this is your life.
Yeah, well, I've had about 45 years of practice. So.
Oh, you're good at it, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, and at 45, you're just a baby. You shouldn't be having these problems. And the nice part is the younger you are, the easier.
No, I'm 60. I just said no words.
That's still at 60.
I ate a little better when I was younger.
Oh, got it. And then you got bad habits. So get back to the good habits. I mean, do you miss a few yummy foods? The answer is yes. Do you feel amazing and live so much longer? Yeah. So to me, it's worth it.
Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Great, Jim. I appreciate that. If you have a question, folks, 844-44-Dr. My website, drjoeesposito.com. Or Google Dr. Joe, number one Dr. Joe in the world. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. Send me questions. Oh, I forgot to say this. Send me questions through my website. I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you. If you don't go down the air, you could always send me questions through the website as well. So we're talking today about why alternative healthcare is booming and why it's becoming so popular, and it's really blown up in the past couple of years. And another reason that people are getting frustrated is being overweight. Has a lot to do with your health. Now, I used to be fat. I can say the F word on the radio because I used to be fat. And that's years ago, before we had things like high fructose corn syrup and all the breads and cookies and cakes and donuts and pastas. And so when we get back, we're going to talk about how obesity is affecting your health and how an alternative approach is so popular right now. If you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe. If you want to get Super Greens, Essential Source, my books. If you have questions, listen to radio shows, watch videos of my lectures. All the videos and the radio shows, drjoeesposito.com is my website, or just Google Dr. Joe. Supplements are also available on Amazon. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. I do appreciate that. We're talking today about why the boom in alternative healthcare and why so many people are turning to alternative healthcare. And the reasons are multiple. Number one, it's usually way less expensive. Number two, amazing results in many cases. Now, that being said, we definitely need, ordinary healthcare as well, orthodox healthcare, because people need everything. I'm not against surgery. I'm not against drugs. I go to my dentist. I get my teeth worked on. So what's nice is that I'm seeing this trend occurring where doctors are now working together. I get referrals all the time from medical professionals. I've had a medical college not far from my office actually ask me if I would teach endocrinology for them. And I said jokingly, well, I'm a backcracker. You sure you want a backcracker working on endocrinology? And they said, but the way you explain things is so clear and so precise that you would benefit our doctors as well as our students because you can teach them so that they can teach their patients. And the same thing at Life University, which is a chiropractic college where I went, actually. They asked me to come teach nutrition, and they said we would all benefit from having you here. So it's kind of neat that this is being recognized by all my colleagues, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun because when people come up with questions and we have an answer for them, many times for the first time in their lives, they say, no one's ever told me that. And, of course, the biggest complaint I get is, why didn't I do this sooner? And the answer is, I have no idea. I wish you did. So we're talking today about alternative healthcare, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about weight, because that's a biggie. No pun intended there. But obesity-related illnesses will raise the nation's healthcare cost to about $48 billion annually over the next 2 decades by adding another 7.9 million new cases of diabetes, 5 million cases of chronic heart disease, 400,000 cancer victims, all courtesy to our ever-expanding waistline. So we're doing things all day, every day to make ourselves fatter, and I used to be fat, so I can say that. And it's an issue. And there's a prediction in preventive medicine, and it says the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, and it projects that 42% of all Americans will be obese, not overweight, but actually obese, which is 20 pounds higher than they should be, by the year 2030. That's about almost half the people in the country going to be obese. That's pretty scary stuff. And that's not too far off. What is that, 10, 13 years now? So we got a problem. And that's not chump change, folks. When it comes to money, the number one reason people file bankruptcy, what do you think the number one reason is? Medical expenses not being covered by health insurance, and people can't afford it. So they file bankruptcy, and that's really a shame because now their lives are adversely affected. And unfortunately, the doctors' lives are adversely affected because the doctor, hospital, healthcare facility didn't get paid either. So what if there was a better way? There is. And I know there is because I've been doing this now for 32 years. So I know what works and what doesn't. And what works is when you take care of yourself, when you get a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. Take that as your primary treatment plan and then work from there. And everything else falls into place real nicely. Because your nervous system controls everything. Your brain sends messages down your spine, out your nerves, to your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen. I got a caller on hold about a liver question. So you got to make sure the nervous system is working properly. Then you have to look at the diet. You have to control over what you eat. And all day, every day, people say, well, Dr. Joe, I really like fill in the blank. Wine, bread, cookies, cakes, donuts, ice cream, steak. I did too. I'm normal. Well, I was. And I used to eat like that. But when you finally realize it's not worth it, that's when it changes. You know, I take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Essential Source. So if you're not willing to do anything else, At least take some supplements to give yourself something to make your body work more efficiently. And that's why I invented Super Greens, an essential source, because it's efficient, relatively inexpensive, and it's great. You know, once you start taking it, it runs out. In fact, Ahmad, my board operator, I came in today and he was yawning. He says, Dr. Joe, I need Super Greens, an essential source. So stuff's pretty amazing. And that's on my website if you need more information, drjoeesposito.com, or Google Dr. Joe, #1 Dr. Joe in the world. It's also available on Amazon if you have an Amazon account. All right, we're going to take some callers. If you have a question, 844-44-Dr. Donna, how can we make your day better?
I am so excited, Dr. Joe. I was just searching and I found you.
Well, I'm excited you called.
I was diagnosed a couple years ago with fibromyalgia, and I have a lot of pain, especially in my hips and some in my knees, and it was really bad. I changed my diet, lost some weight, and then I gained the weight again. And last, maybe I would say 3 years, I was feeling sort of nausea. Whether if I eat, I'm nauseous. If I don't eat, I'm nauseous. And then I started to have like a tingling pain, and it's right under my right rib cage.
Right, okay.
And it's just like very annoying.
Okay.
So I went to the doctor, and she did an ultrasound.
Okay.
And she said to me, my family doctor, she said to me, you have fatty liver.
Okay.
And I said, what's that? How do I get it? She said, just watch what you eat. And she sent me home. So I've always been an advocate for more natural ways instead of prescription drugs.
Put it in the form of a question. What's your question, Donna?
Yeah. I don't know what to do to get rid of this.
All right, a couple of things. Fatty liver. When I went to school many years ago, we were taught that fatty liver comes from alcoholism, and that's that. That's your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're finding it in children. 5 years old, we're getting kids with fatty liver. A lot of it has to do with high fructose corn syrup. Because when you eat a lot of fructose and high fructose corn syrup, it has to be converted into glucose, which is the fuel that your cells use. It gets converted in the liver. And in the process, it can build up toxic waste products in the liver, and it creates fatty liver. So for someone like you, you got to cut out all your sugars, your breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pasta, soda. Those have to go. Because that's the thing most likely that's leading to your fatty liver, unless you're an alcoholic, which I'm assuming you're not.
No, I'm not.
Right. And also now we use a lot more bad oils. We use omega-6 fatty acids. We have canola oil, which wasn't around when I was a kid, soybean oil, corn oil. But even if corn oil was around, it wasn't genetically modified. And so there's a lot of toxins that your liver's job is to filter. So you got to stop putting the junk in your body. And so the 7 deadly sins are alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Those are the 7 you want to avoid. Now, on my website, I have a wonderful lecture that I did. It's no charge, drjoeesposito.com. Go on my YouTube channel or the video channel, and you can watch the 7 deadly sins of nutrition. And there for an hour, I tell you why you need to avoid those foods. As far as getting the liver working again, the liver is the fastest healing organ in the body. So the good news is that you have an organ that's going to heal pretty quickly as soon as you stop putting the junk in. Alkalize the system. Dr. Joe Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, excellent for liver health. And then once that starts working, that should do it. If it doesn't work, we can dig a little deeper. We can get you on things like milk thistle and other supplements. But I think if you stop putting the bad stuff in and start putting the good stuff in, you should get some great results.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, Donna. Appreciate the call. And, folks, if you have a question, 844-44-Dr. 844-44-DRJOE. And that number, by the way, rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Lots of folks, I said, follow me on Facebook. My Facebook page lit up when I said that because I have it in front of me here at the studio. So follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram. It's just a great source of information. The website, drjoeesposito.com. And watch the videos, listen to the radio shows that I have archived there, read my articles. Because, again, we cover so many different topics. And people say, you've been on the air for, 10, 12 years now. How do you get so many topics? I said, I've got stacks of research that I haven't gotten to yet. But it really boils down to some basic things. Number 1, normally functioning nervous system. Number 2, normally functioning digestive system. And good nutrition. And so when it comes to gaining weight, we talked about that, one option I want you to consider. Your stomach sits below your diaphragm. And when you eat, your food falls into this hole in your diaphragm. You digest the food, and it goes onto your small intestine. Your stomach may be pushing up into your diaphragm. And this is the problem I had when I was young and why I couldn't stop eating. Because when my stomach pushed up against my diaphragm, I I was just crazy hungry all the time. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, we may need to pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. We do that in our offices. So 844-44-Dr. my website, drjoeesposito.com. When we come back, we're going to give you more tips on how to get that weight under control naturally without drugs and surgery so that your health can improve. Hey, listen, got to go to break. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, thanks for being here. This is the show that gives you straight talk on health because I want you to take control of your own health. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, this is where you need to be. And by the way, thank you for referring all your friends because many times patients come in our offices or they call up to do a nutritional consultation over the phone. And I'll say, how'd you find out about it? And say, oh, my husband, my brother, my sister listens to your show all the time, and they just swear by you, and they insisted that I come see you. So I want to thank everybody for those referrals. I can't ever thank you because I can't call you and say, hey, thanks for sending Bob in because there's something called HIPAA where I can't tell a patient about another patient or tell somebody about another patient. But I do want to thank you for that. That's really kind of cool. So a couple of things when it comes to losing weight, and then we'll go back to the callers. One of the things, if your stomach is up against your diaphragm, when I have that happen, and it doesn't happen much anymore because I fixed it, I just can't stop eating. I eat, my stomach hurts, but I still want to keep eating. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, could be the stomach is up against the diaphragm. We need to pull it back down, and that's a manual thing. It's a physical thing. And this kind of ties in nicely with our next caller. Abdul, how can we make your day better?
Hello.
Yes, sir. How can we help
Hello.
you? Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, and second-time caller, long-time listener, and I have two quick questions. This for my aunt. She has been having a frequent constipation, even though she changed her diet, all green and avocado and smoothie, everything low sugar, and unfortunately, frequent constipation.
Okay, so a lot of times with constipation, it's something physical, not chemical. Because I hear this a lot. Patients change their diet. I have a supplement. It's called Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. And I designed this for a patient who was just like her. She tried everything. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was a young girl, the parents. And they finally brought her into us, and I designed this supplement called Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. You can get that on our website, really inexpensive, and it works really well. So that's something I would suggest. The second thing you might want to consider is she may have a pinched nerve in her low back. The nerves in the low back control the bowels. And I have a lot of patients with pinched nerves. In fact, a lot of times with babies, babies come in with constipation. We adjust or put the bones in the low back in place. And before they even get out the door, the diapers are full. So babies respond faster than us old folks. There's also something we talked about a little earlier. There's something called the ileocecal valve, the valve between your small and large intestine. And if that valve spasms, it can be spasmed shut closed, and fiber is not going to be able to force it open. You have to get in there and physically massage it or get it to work better. So I would check the nerves in the low back, the ileocecal valve, and try Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser. And one of those three things should work.
Okay, one other quick question. I was reading a new journal medicine, and it says that coconut oil is no good because it raises the...
Oh, man. One study, and it created quite a stir. I don't agree with that study because there's, countless other studies on coconut oil showing how good it was. One thing, I read the study, and I didn't see if they used organic coconut oil, if it was non-organic coconut oil, if it was hydrogenated coconut oil. So they just had a broad statement saying coconut oil raises your bad cholesterol and you shouldn't eat it. It is a saturated fat, but if you study chemistry, it's a very weakly bound saturated fat, easily broken. The bonds are easily broken. So I read the article. I strongly disagree with it. It wasn't scientific enough for me to say, yes, I'm going to agree with that. So I use it every day. I continue to use it every day. I have no problem with it.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. And if you're going to do coconut oil, folks, make sure it's organic, of course, too. All right, let's take another caller. Is it Micah?
Yes.
Hi, Micah. How can we help you today?
I just had a simple question. I try to eat relatively healthy, and this is my first time listening to you, by the way. I'm traveling to South Carolina today.
Welcome.
But, thank you. Well, I'm enjoying the show so far, but like I said, I try to eat relatively healthy, and I try to eat some raw vegetables, stick them on my diet when I can. But I don't particularly care for raw cucumbers. But what do you think about, like, whole pickles? Are they healthy? I know they're soaked in
Yes.
salt and
No,
vinegar.
yeah, I would recommend organic pickles, making sure they're using organic pickles and organic vinegars. But pickles are great. Also good to make the bowels move because you put a lot of salt into the bowels, and it acts like an Epsom salt, so it can get the bowels moving pretty quickly, too. I love pickles. I'm a huge pickle fan. I only do organic. I like the dill ones. But they're great for you. And they're loaded with magnesium, which will help relax muscles as well. If you have muscle cramps, that works well for that, too.
How many pickles a day would you recommend?
If they're small ones, 2 or 3 pickles a day is fine. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we used to go up to a farm and they had these monster pickles. I don't know what. This is way before steroids and hormones, but I just thinking about it, I remember biting into the pickle with my grandfather and going, "Oh my God, this is heaven!" And I would love to have one more of those pickles again in my life. But 2 or 3 pickles, if they're small, it would be fine. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. It's nice we get people from all over and every show. It's what's kind of fun too is we get people all the time, new listeners, and it's exciting to me. So we're talking today about why alternative healthcare is booming, but it's funny. I just got a message on Facebook, and somebody said that they had their office broken into, and they had a couple of computers stolen, and they said, "But Doc, they didn't get anything valuable because they left your Super Greens and your Essential Source." And I kind of chuckled at that. Super Greens and Essential Source more valuable than computers. But in reality, it really is, because if your health is there, it's amazing how good you feel and how much better you function. And that's a key here, because with my employees, I want to make sure that they're eating right. I can't dictate what everyone eats, of course. I always tell people when I hire them, listen, I don't care what you eat, but I prefer you kind of lean in my direction if you can. And most of my employees do, and it shows. But when you start taking care of your health and your employees' health, they work better, you work better, you're more efficient, you work harder, you get a lot more done. So why wouldn't you want to get healthy? And that's the question. And that's kind of ties into what we're talking about today, why natural health care is booming. So I promised you a couple other tricks on weight loss here before we wrap it up. You need to have fiber. And somebody sent me a message on Facebook too. What about chia seeds? Chia seeds are awesome. Now, you can buy chia seeds. They look like little poppy seeds, and I eat them quite often, as a matter of fact. I have them in my house, and I don't know, probably 4, 5, 6 times a week I'll eat them. Maybe a teaspoon or 2. You don't have to do a lot. And you can mix it in, like if you mix it in with Super Greens and Essential Source, it works pretty well. You can put it in oatmeal. If I'm going to have, like with blueberry season, I have blueberry bushes. I picked a lot of blueberries and I froze them. So I would take the blueberries, pour a little coconut milk over it, and put some chia seeds in there and have that kind of like a cereal type thing. But chia seeds, when they get in your colon, swell up. And when they swell up, they push everything through the colon and they get the bowels to move. And one of the things I find with older folks especially is the bowels aren't moving 2 to 3 times a day, and that can cause you to gain weight. So if you can do something like chia seeds every day, that's going to kind of help push everything through and clean everything out. They're also high in omega-3 fatty acids. However, the omega-3 fatty acids found in chia seeds and things like flax seeds are in what's called the ALA form. ALA has to be converted into DHA and EPA. Don't worry about the chemistry. But the plant-based omega-3 fatty acids are good, but you may, if you don't have a really, really super healthy diet, you might not be able to convert them as well as you should. So a supplement I take along with Super Greens and Essential Source is I take algae oil. And there's algae oil supplements. I take 1 gram of algae oil a day because it's omega-3 fatty acids in the DHA and EPA form. And that helps with inflammation. It helps with brain function. And that's pretty powerful stuff when you start adding that to the diet. And I really want you to consider getting your kids on omega-3 fatty acids as well. Because if the body is healthy, and these are good fats that can help metabolize the bad fats. So when it comes to weight loss, bowels need to be moving. If they're not, Dr. Joe's Intestinal Cleanser is a great little thing that's on the website, drjoeesposito.com. It's also, I think that's on Amazon as well. Check the nerve supply in the low back. That's the nerve into the bowels. And another trick that I want you to consider is that most of us are dehydrated. We don't drink enough water. So before every meal, I want you to have about 8-10 ounces of water, about 5-10 minutes before the meal. And the part of your brain that controls hunger also controls thirst in adults. And if you're hungry, you may not be hungry, you may be thirsty. So by drinking water, that's going to solve a lot of problems for you when it comes to diet control. And if you do have that acid reflux and a heartburn, folks, you've got to get that fixed because if you don't get that fixed, it's going to lead to some real serious problems, including things like esophageal cancer. The acid can come up into the throat. So the number one reason I see patients in my offices is for pain. My doctors and I see pain patients. The number two reason we see people is for acid reflux and heartburn. And then car accidents, sports injuries. People are getting that alternative health care, I hate to even use that word, is working for a lot of problems, especially with pain management. So, folks, if you're just tuning in, you missed an amazing show. Go to my website. I'm going to put it there, drjoeesposito.com, or just Google Dr. Joe. You can listen to this and hundreds of hours of other shows. You can get Super Greens and Essential Source there, also available on Amazon. And I want to thank you. If I don't say that enough, I probably don't. But thank you for listening. I do appreciate that. Tell your friends about the show. We'll catch you next time. Tell your friends.